Question, a suggestion. Peter Zanetti, publicare.ca. Leadership, opportunity, inclusivity, safety. I urge the Canada Council put on your website, right along your mission statement, your about statement, the anti-harassment policies. And these anti-harassment policies, I couldn't find, or hard to find, should be based on the enumerated grounds of the Canadian Human Rights Act. Having it text by text alongside your mission statement and about statement says to me, you're doing a goal and we're making a safe place to do it. It's out there, you're accountable to it, and then I don't have to call you to find out that you have one. Many of the enumerated grounds still carry a social stigma attached to them. I don't want to implicitly or explicitly out myself of any of those if I have to call you to see if you have an anti-harassment policy or does it cover this or that.
Yeah. Now, I'm not here from the Canada Council, but I know that there are many people who are here from the Canada Council, so I trust they're taking that over. No worries.
This is a 21st century thing that all arts organizations should be able to have because it should be intrinsic in any arts organization. It speaks to safety, it speaks to inclusivity, it speaks to transparency, it speaks to consistency. These enumerated grounds, we allies have fought long and hard for to get those in various Canadian Human Rights Acts and provincial Human Rights Acts respectively. So I think this is one way that arts organizations can start to say, we're doing our thing. We want to make sure it's a safe space and inclusive space for you and everybody else to participate. Whether you are a volunteer, whether you are working, and especially when you're coming from schools like here, universities, colleges, and high schools, to volunteer work, internship, whatever, the transition should be seamless. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I saw folks from the council taking notes. Anybody on the panel want to respond to that, or?
Well, no, it should be fundamental to the governance of any arts and cultural organization or institution. It needs to be there. It needs to be part of your rules and regulations and procedures. And if it isn't there, yes, one could argue that the funding agencies should put pressure to bear, bring pressure to bear, to ensure that it is being addressed.
Well, and yes, the council is indeed looking at that.
But there is, the question again is where you drawing the line. You're going to get rid of all Chuck Close's paintings?
But I don't think that's what's being...
No, but if someone says, I'm being harassed by the nude statues, what are we, again, using our experience in the Met, there's a group that brings a very large number of young people, it's a religious group, and the lecturer that they tell them is that everything you hear is wrong. These Egyptian things were really, they're only 4,000 years old, they're not 2,500 years, and so on and so on. Do we stop them from coming in? Because they're giving obviously wrong information. Again, where is the line that is drawn? It's so obvious with regard to your own staff and such. But boy, how quickly does it get confused? I think, of course, I agree with you, but there is a line that has to be drawn somewhere. That museums, arts institutes cannot simply be open to every, to open this door. How do you stop it?
But surely the line isn't to ignore it. And I don't think that's what you're saying.
No. I'm just saying this will be an issue.
Yeah.
This is going to be an issue.
Yes, Mark. If you could identify yourself.
Yeah, my name is Mark Sal, I'm here at the University. So I want to ask a question which has to do with the tension on this panel between going to the future technology or the focus on bedrock of the world. So I'm just curious if you think that the pendulum of progress could swing back to local work done by people that you can touch, that you can talk to, precisely away from the digital and the virtual, and that actually could even be a leadership position for artists that they would actually represent real human work done locally for local humans. Is it possible that pendulum will go that way?
It is possible, it is desirable. One of the areas that I work on these days is the semantic web. The ways that we code information so that machines can make sense of it. And in this globalized world, semantic web offers opportunities to start coding information about the arts in the way that is attached to the place where it's from. You can say this work of art comes from this artist, was born in this city, and it works in this city. And then you start accumulating information about a given place. There is no standard right now in the semantic web to talk about traditional territories. That is yet to be created. We can do that and find a way to attach a physical or a digital work to the place that it is from, whatever that place is called, by using different semantic annotations. So I think there is definitely a possibility there.
And I think the two can coexist because we're also seeing a huge increase in that kind of very local, very specific, and we're seeing a huge increase in the digital. So I think that there's also just the possibility in a world where people can do all kinds of things that we're going to see both of them coinciding, sometimes by totally different people. People are not going to indulge in one. Some people are going to indulge in both. So I think that there's less of a worry that the digital will exclude the very local.
But I think the worry, though, that I would point out potentially is, and you and I have talked about this before, Mark, is sort of flavor of the day worry that some of the more bedrock pieces or local elements that Carolyn was talking about might not get the kind of balance because from the perspective of some, they might not be seen as sexy. But this is one area where I would put a lot of faith in artists. Artists will decide where they want to take art. And I think you're quite right, Carolyn, that we're going to see both existing.
But we're not all sure. I mean, I'll give you two examples. The easy availability of block, of all the different varieties, I would say it stimulates the formation of local groups, kids in the garage and everything. Hear this stuff and imitate it and do it, rap whatever you want. On the other hand, when opera was started, the hope was it would stimulate local opera, get people interested, and stimulate local groups. It hasn't at all. In fact, the number of local opera groups has diminished. One, it's expensive to do this, but it seems like the easy availability of the Met undercuts this. Where on the other hand, with rap, the easy availability of lots of rap seems to have encouraged it. So, what is the role of the community? We don't have enough miles under the miles on the tires yet to see.
Just very quickly, Molly, I'm with Karen. I think we will see a balance, and I think that as our lives become increasingly overwhelmed, perhaps by technology in whatever form it may take, the need for authenticity, the need for human contact, and I guess there's an analogy here with the crafts movement. When the crafts went into decline completely because everything was going to be automated, all the pots were going to be produced by machines. We've seen in the last 20 years an explosion of interest in the handmade object because you feel a connection with the artist, and ideally, if you're at a crafts fair, you have that opportunity to see the artist at work and to interact with them. So I do think that there is a balance, and I think human beings are capable of absorbing both. The most extraordinary technological achievements coming into your cell phone. I guess the opera will come into my cell phone, which I think is pretty amazing. And at the same time, meeting and being around with the people in your community.
So I've got a question here from Sharon, and then I don't know if I can dictate this by fiat or what, but there are a lot of young people in this room, and I really want to hear from the young people and what they might have to say or comments that they might have. I'm kind of looking at this little patch of people here, but I know there are some at the back as well. So Sharon, question to you.
Well, I'm sorry I'm not young. I'm Sharon Shadada, and I'm with the Center on Governance at the University here. And I'd like to address an elephant in the room because it kind of falls in the stool between the economic excellence and technology discussion that's been taking place. And I haven't looked at any of the stats lately, but last time I looked, artists were not very high on the economic scale. In the current social, economic, and technological environment. Now, Stephen talked a lot about, virtual reality and all of these wonderful technologies that we're all going to be able to use. But the question is, and I have to point to music streaming as an example. Will any artist be able to make a living off this? Or will anything excellent have a platform on this? Or will this become sort of a venue that's overtaken and dominated by the corporate giants, the giant corporations that Stephen talked about? And beyond that, what is the role of the Arts Council, specifically the Canada Council, in addressing problems like that of equity, access, excellence, and technological reach? That's something that's been troubling me a long time, and I'd sure like to hear what people want to say about that.
Let me very quickly. You're absolutely right. Think of the Met and HD performances. Even more, think of the Met now with its library available. Does anyone get residuals?
Yeah.
I can watch the most famous opera performances in the world now, really very nicely and easily. Is there any residual? Does the performer get anything? Does Gelb get anything? Who gets anything? And the nice thing for me is it's all but free. But you're exactly right. How does all this work out economically for the people who make the art?
But we also talked about there's a lot of young people who are very rich now. And some of them like buying paintings, like buying art. I mean, I'm not sure that some of the best Ottawa artists aren't making more money now than they made before. Well, you'd have to know, but because I think there is a longing to have, to in a way show that you're young and rich, but also to want a nice house. And what do you put on walls except painting? I mean, you can put your digital screen, but you also want to put on painting. And so I think somebody should, I don't know, but I suspect that some of the best Ottawa artists are actually doing better than they were doing 20 years ago.
But they still only get income on the first sale and not on the resale.
Yes.
Hence the need for the artist resale right in Canada.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah, no, and I think the point that you've raised, Sharon, is essential. I don't know the answer to the question, but at the same time, I think figuring out and identifying, well, what's the role of the state in that context? At the end of the day, I'm a policy wonk, and that is precisely a role of the state question in terms of, is there a market failure here? If there is there something that needs to be done? Needs to be done about it. I'm not certain that it's the role of arts councils to deal with that. That could actually fall into sort of a different quarter of the government. But in terms of who should be thinking about those issues, it absolutely should be governments. But they will likely need some advocacy, Frédéric, to be persuaded to do so. Yeah, John?
Just picking up on the word advocacy, which is always something that triggers and fires my blood. We underachieved, I was going to say failed, in really convincing decision makers that of the role and value of all of these activities about which everybody in this room obviously cares and cares deeply. It's not something that they really understand. Either they think it's dangerous, or they're indifferent, or they just assume still that everybody's interested in sports and and not interested in arts and culture and all those things. We haven't won that battle. We still have we have to do some relentless advocacy around the fact that our society as a whole hasn't accepted the value of all of these activities about which we care. And there's a poignant moment in your book, Monica. I was very glad to see that you referred to it. It was from a speech by Bob Sermon, in which he said, basically, Massey would have wept about the demise of the Canadian Conference of the Arts, which was the advocacy body which aggregated the views of the arts and the cultural industries and presented them to government. It fell afoul of the fact that the government of the day didn't want to hear those views and decided that's it. And so we don't have that mechanism. One thought that certainly has occurred to me, and that is that because of you're doing your book launches across the country, there is an opportunity to perhaps stimulate some mechanism and some dialogue that will keep this going, because there's so much that hasn't been addressed. We're not there yet by any manner of means, so good luck with that.
So my name is Cindy, and my friends and I here are journalism students from Carleton. And so my question is, as a youth, and not only as a youth, but as a person of minority as well, how can I find opportunities and carve out opportunities for myself and find hope within this arts landscape when, as you said, everything's moving so fast, and where can I find myself in the future?
You know, I suspect that everyone on this panel would like to ask you that question. I mean, if there's one thing that I see in the interactions that I have with, whether it's students or predominantly students, but other young people as well, is the extent to which, I mean, who do I go to for technology advice? Well, it's certainly, it's my son, who's about your age. So I think you're probably going to be in the best position in many instances to know where the opportunities are. That said, I think connecting with others, and I suspect there are a lot of people in the arts sector, not only on this panel, but well and beyond, who would be thrilled to connect with young people. And there are programs around these issues as well to try to put forward those opportunities and to connect you with the sorts of things that you're interested in. And I hope that you're not taking from this panel that you should rethink what you're interested in doing. Not at all. Actually, I would say quite the contrary. If there's one thing that makes me extremely excited about the future, that is precisely the energy and creativity that young people like yourself are bringing to the sector. So I guess what I'm saying is, talk to me if you like. And others on this panel will be happy to help. Other thoughts from folks?
Yeah, everything is good what you said, unless you want to eat. And then there's a problem.
I don't buy that, Stephen.
Oh no, starving artists are part of, this, of our history. You're going to be a starving artist too. The opportunities to participate in the arts world are much greater now because of the multiplicity of arts forms. But making a living at it is no easier. And in some ways, it's much easier to capture your art and take it away and not pay you for it. Video, you put on YouTube and everyone loves it and you have 90,000 views. No, unless you're very talented, know how to manipulate the site, it's not worth anything to you in terms of a living. So, I mean, this is nothing new on one side. The opportunities, if anything, are greater because of the recognition of more arts forms. But man, you still starve. That's not. I don't know how you.
But I think we're also talking about things like volunteering for arts organizations. I mean, I think if you want to know what arts organizations do,
You still starve.
everybody. Yeah, no. I'm not talking about jobs. You have a job, but doesn't everyone volunteer as well as have a job and as well as doing videos whenever? Except me, but whenever. But I'm not talking about your paid employment. I'm talking about how you extend your contacts in the world, and volunteering is fabulous. And every organization now that I know of wants diversity and youth, and somebody who isn't old white man or woman, like I'm an old white woman, but I still volunteer. But I think there's a huge opportunity, and that's just about expanding your life contacts. It's not about making money. You can do that elsewhere, because that you can do. You can find a job. But it's about knowing more people, knowing more worlds, knowing more opportunities, knowing things that are fun to do. And I think volunteering is just a huge, and the need now for volunteers who are young and who are, to use that terrible word, diverse, is huge. So I'm not contradicting you. Everyone needs to find some way to make a living, but
let me say an advocacy.
Okay, quick final.
An advocacy, you want an advocacy position, and that is the council should say to arts institutions, pay your interns. Don't divide up a paying job into 15 unpaid internships. Hire people, full-time jobs. Don't abuse volunteers. Pay them. Don't let anyone say they're an intern without being paid. And make institutions, if they can't pay their staff, then something's wrong with their business plan. I think the abuse of volunteers is enormous in the art world. And if you're working, you should get paid. And you should be able to say on your resume that I was paid. I was a paid employee. I think I'm enormously important for that.
Final words to John and to Frédéric. Any final words to add?
I do most of my advocacy at night as a volunteer.
Shameless promotion. If you go online and if you look for eduarts.ca, you will see what we were attempting to do in trying to address the enormous challenge of the arts and learning at all ages, for all people, wherever they may live. But fundamentally, if we don't address the issue of involving and engaging and encouraging youth, the purposes of the arts councils will become futile. We have to broaden the base of those people who are knowledgeable in and about arts and cultural activities.
Great words to close on, John. So I'm going to give a bit of a long list of thanks here, but I'm going to make it quick. So we'll hold applause until the end. So I'd like to begin by thanking all the panelists. This is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for giving of your time and your expertise. And Frédéric, a special thank you to you for stepping in so at the last minute. I'd like to again thank the Canada Council and McGill Queen's University Press. Philip, that you took the trip here from Montreal to come and attend the launch means the world to me, so I really greatly appreciate that. So many people in the room helped this project. I'm not going to name them all, but I'm looking at a number of them right now. I really appreciate everything that you've done. I want to give a special thanks to my very dear friend, Roxane Carrière. Put up your hand, Roxane. Without whose support I could never have written this book. Thank you very much, Roxane. I'd like to thank the University of Ottawa Bookstore for being here and selling the book. The books are for sale or somewhere are for sale. Big tall guy, Raphaël Desordi, who does all of our comms work, had to head off to class, but thanks to him as well. And a special thanks to 2 of my research assistants, in fact 3 of my research assistants at the back, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. Catherine Pietramiro, Laura Narala, Acacia, Peyton Young. Many, many thanks to those 3 young, very talented women for their assistance. And thank you to all of you who attended. So I'd like to invite all of you to join me in thanking